What are you finding helpful in helping the new up-and-coming kids understand and achieve that broader perspective?
My big thing is just encouraging people to develop a love for learning. You don't have to love school, but you cannot survive, particularly in the technology world, but even more broadly in the world around us, if you say, okay, I'm going to stop learning at the age of 25 and never going to learn anything new again. I mean, you won't be able to make it in the world. And I know it's harder. You know, I spent a lot of time twice a year going around my parents' house and changing all of the clocks, because they never really did understand, you know, how to make the clock on the VCR work or how to make the clock on the oven work. And so I know it's hard, but if you can truly get to the point where you love learning and exploring and experimenting, then that's going to set you up. When you come into a conversation, it is going to be more about what are the gems that I can learn from you, not, you know, what can I get you to do for me or something like that.
If I'd like to get started on that, and I don't have any idea what to even do. What are a couple of things that I might start playing with?
Well, one thing is to try to understand how you learn best. Some people learn best by reading. Some people learn best by listening. Some people learn best by listening but then writing it down. For some people, they like to watch videos. Others like to read text. For some people, they are visual learners. Others, you know, they like numbers or charts or graphs. And so that's the first thing, because if you feel like you're constantly fighting the mechanism, the delivery of content to you, you're not going to find that to be a fun learning experience. And then once you do that, look around the world. What interests you today that you've never read about before? And find something in your chosen medium. I very often talk to people who are doing knowledge management systems about the fact that they really need to pay more attention to accidental learning. One of the most important books for my PhD dissertation, and it was only about that thick, I didn't find because I was looking for it. I found because I was in the section in the library. Yes, there were physical libraries back then. And next to the book I was looking for, you know, I kind of scanned, you know, a half a dozen books each way and saw this and thought, hey, that title sounds promising. We don't support browsing enough, and even HTML and such, yeah, it's a good way to go down a rabbit hole. It's not necessarily a good way to just browse. And you know, maybe it's you go into your local bookstore. You know, maybe you use a recommendation style engine on something like YouTube. Who knows? But just start to try to find topics that are of interest to you, and be willing to abandon them if you don't like them. I rarely do not finish a book I start. It has happened, but it's very rare. But sometimes they're just not interesting. It's like, okay, well, that had real promise, but I'm, a quarter of the way in and it's still not doing anything for me. And so, particularly early in this exploration, be willing to fail fast. Be willing to say, no, this is not worth any more of my time, and go and try to find something new.
So it's really another way maybe to say what you've just said is we have to ignite our curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And once the curiosity is there, then learning is going to happen.
Yep. But do be conscious of how you go about satisfying that curious impulse, because you can also kill it. I know people who really, really don't like watching videos. They'll do podcasts, they'll read long form articles, but they just don't like watching videos. If the only thing you can find on something that you're curious is a video, figure out how to make it more interesting. I'm a big fan these days of running things at 1.5 speed, because I'm one of those people who doesn't like consuming content from videos, and I find that for most speakers, you can get away with that. It cuts down the amount of time, and that seems to work for me. But to me, video is kind of a last resort.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca, for that reminder that it's curiosity fostered by information coming in the way that we prefer to learn is really key.
Mm-hmm.
And that's then something that we as leaders can do to help our people, whether they're our direct reports or people that we're leading outside of the organizational structure, to understand how do they want to learn. And then both as we're offering information to them, helping them spin up on a technology or present to stakeholders or whatever, helps them, give them information in the format that they prefer, and also help them understand how to start asking for information in the way that they prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great lead into my next question. How do you build cultures, and how do you help the people that you are helping build cultures where people feel safe and empowered to bring their unique talents into everything that they do?
The critical factor is psychological safety. And to me, one of the big pillars for that is the authentic ability to say these 3 words, which some people seem just completely incapable of saying, which is, I don't know. You can add on to it. I don't know, but I'll find out. I don't know, but I think this is what it is. But being authentic about the fact that, like everybody else, you're a human being, there are limits to your knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with being ignorant of something. That just means you haven't been exposed to it yet. Being deliberately ignorant or trying to hide the fact that you don't know something is really destructive to trust. Another important enabler is to do everything you can to focus on outcomes. This is what we're trying to achieve. Not you will do step 1, step 2, step 2A, step 2B, but this is what we're trying to achieve